Hello, everyone. Welcome to this live with Felicity Mathews. I believe we actually might be having some technical difficulties. Everything was working beautifully, and now Felicity has frozen, and you get me. So whilst we're waiting for Felicity to reconnect, I will just jump in and explain why we do these lives and I guess what the purpose is, and if you're wanting to know certain things, you can drop it in the comments. There's lots of great things coming in 2023 around different topics and ways that we can help you understand your business a bit more and why cash flow is so important. So Felicity is a bookkeeper and mastery Profit First professional who's located in Darwin. And she is the only Profit First professional in that part of Australia, which is really exciting. And what we'll be doing today is finding out a bit about how her business started and what she did when she implemented Profit First herself and why she became a Profit First professional, but more importantly, what it does for her clients and, you know, some tips and tricks that you might be able to start tracking and looking at in the meantime. So whilst we're waiting for Felicity to jump back on, I did want to just jump in and say we are in November. And if you haven't had a chance yet to be planning for 2023, I would really highly recommend that you consider doing so. But more importantly, tying it back to your numbers. So I've been having some really amazing conversations with different business owners over the last couple of weeks, and I find that there's lots of planning going on in relation to, you know, what's coming up with their different offerings and what products and services are being presented out there in the world, as well as launch times and travel and work-related things that are happening there. But what doesn't happen is it doesn't get tied back to the numbers and what that actually means. So just a little note for those of you that are in your 2023 planning to consider looking at it from the Profit First framework as to if you bring in a certain revenue, what does it look like in your business? And I think we have Felicity back, which is really awesome. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Sorry, technical issue.
Yay. Awesome. All right. So we're going to jump straight into it. I did give everyone a bit of an overview as to who you are, where you're located, and that you are the only Profit First professional in Darwin. So I'm going to start by saying, why did you get into business?
It's a bit of a convoluted story. So I have always been in admin, but I was also a nurse. And then being shift working and my partner going away all the time, I couldn't continue nursing. So I decided to open up my own business. 10 years later, I'm still here.
Yay! Yay! And that's a big thing to celebrate that, because as we know, how many businesses fail in the first 5 years?
Oh, the statistics are disgusting, but a lot.
Yeah. A lot. I think it's at about 83% within Australia. So it's huge.
Yeah.
Really is huge. So you set up your business and what happened? Give us a little bit of a timeline as to what's kind of happened for you.
Okay, so at the beginning, setting up the business, I didn't really have a lot of clients to start with. So I'm started as a bookkeeper. I continued working for an admin person part-time while I built up my clients. 2012 I commenced. 2015 I finally became full-time, moved from sole trader to company, brought on my first staff member, and still here 10 years later with 4 staff, including myself. And we've added advisory to our stream of income.
Awesome. And so how did you first come across Profit First yourself? Like, how was this introduced to you, and when in your business journey did you come across it?
So I just happened to be scrolling Facebook one day in one of the many forums that I'm part of, being bookkeeping practice, and someone mentioned Profit First, and I went, what's this? And then started to do a bit of a search, and I went, ooh. And then I got the book and I went, ooh, I really like this. And then I contacted Laura. It's pretty much how it happened. So I think that was end of 2018, 19 area time frame.
Yeah. I believe that it was the end of 2018 because Profit First Professionals Australia and New Zealand kind of came into being at the beginning of 2018 because it was originally in the US. Still is in the US, but now we've got headquarters around the world. So, yeah, you're one of the small number at that point in time who really adopted the Profit First principles, and you've been a Profit First professional since then. So what has it done for your business?
Oh, so I was operating on a $50,000 overdraft that was always at its limit. And I managed, by implementing Profit First and going through the motions, I managed to get rid of the overdraft within 2 years. So
That's
no
quick.
business debt. Well, it all made sense. So when I was reading the book, I was like going, this is amazing. Why haven't I thought of this earlier? And being a bookkeeper, you're like, you're so stupid. Why didn't you think of this? So and it was action steps, and it was like, do this, do this, do this. And you just followed the bouncing ball, and it was just amazing. So my profit distributions, I pretty much paid off my debt. And now my profit distributions are for me.
So what do you do with so obviously debt was a big priority for you when it came to, implementing Profit First. That was one of your goals, to eliminate that debt. And you did that really quite quickly. And do you use an overdraft at all anymore?
No overdraft, nothing.
Awesome.
I've got money.
Got money?
Yeah, got money, can pay everything when it's due and don't have sleepless nights, really.
And I'm in the
industry. I'm in this industry, and I still wasn't getting it right.
But that's the exact thing, is that it's like the plumber with the leaky tap. It's like the bookkeeper or accountant that doesn't actually have a handle on the cash flow of the business, because you get so busy in the doing and helping other people that it becomes sort of like I'll get to that. Whereas implementing Profit First puts that all at the forefront, but it's a framework that works. So the fact you got rid of debt, that's amazing. Do you now have like buffers and surplus in your business at all?
Yeah, so my tax GST account always has a buffer. I've also set up two other accounts, one being for my annual. I pay all my expenses annually, so I get them cheaper, so that's reduced the cost. So I transfer money each cycle into that account. And then I've also got I'm a Mastery member, and we're doing an amazing meetup in 2024. So yes, I'm also putting money for that. So yeah, and with my annual expenses, I'm also putting money aside for staff leave and long service leave and all that stuff that you have to deal with when people aren't producing.
I'm hearing is that the stress just isn't there compared to what it generally is as a business owner.
Yeah, there is no monetary stress. There's work stress, but there's definitely no monetary stress.
Yeah, well, the two together definitely compound, and having not just the work stress but the monetary stress can really send you crazy.
Yes, it can. Yes.
Awesome. So what's next for you? So you have obviously implemented Profit First in your business, and you're now in a position where you're sleeping at night, you have surpluses where you need them, you're able to accumulate funds to do things in 2024. Who would have thought that was even possible? But I guess you tend to track other things as well. Do you want to talk a little bit about what your superpower is and what you've implemented in your business and do for your clients?
So for my business, I have some key performance indicators that I track on a regular basis. The main one I track is my average revenue per client, and I'd like to see that increasing each month and particularly each quarter. So the way that that helps me is we're logging, every employee is logging their time, and based on the revenue we can see if we're being efficient and what changes need to be made, and making sure that we're on budget. So if our average revenue is increasing, then we're more efficient.
Absolutely.
We also,
what does that allow you to do?
What is it? one, reduces stress. Also, I can see where our capacity is at. So if I have a client ring up and they're wanting to, they're needing a rescue or whatever, I can say yes or no. It also frees me up more to do the advisory side of things, which is where my love is. And then the staff can deal with all the day-to-day running. I can see if I need to take on a new staff member. I can see if I need to redistribute the work around different employees. So it just provides a lot of information that takes me 10 minutes a month. It provides all that information.
That's amazing, because I'm sure that they're the biggest challenges that you hear from people, knowing when and if you need to hire someone, whether people, burnout's a big thing as well with team, and knowing capacity around workload and that sort of thing would be an absolute game changer. A question around that, how much lead time do you get by giving this 10 minutes a month to look at this? How much lead time would you give yourself by looking at this to know when you need to, bite the bullet to hire someone or to redistribute work?
So I'd probably redistribute. So I would redistribute sooner rather than later, because my staff are my biggest asset. So I want to keep them happy as well. So if they're burning out, they're no good to me. They're no good to the business. They're no good to themselves. So the redistribution would happen, and then when I start seeing that things aren't quite right, then I'll start looking at maybe I need to hire, and then I'll set up. I've got another account set up that I actually start transferring money into, so that when I do take on a new staff member, I've got that buffer where they're not really producing, but I can still cover their wages.
What buffer is that? Like, how much time does that give you?
Anywhere between 1 and 3 months, depending on how long it takes to hire.
Amazing. Yeah, because this is definitely something that if one person, or if that was the one thing that someone would take from this conversation and go, set up a bank account specifically for staff that can accumulate funds out of the revenue that you're already generating, so that when it comes time to hire someone, you've got a buffer. What does that do for you as a business owner?
Taking on a new staff member is always stressful, because it's taking time away from you because you've got to train them, or it's taking time away from a staff member because they've got to train them. They're not doing the work that they can't hit the ground running. So they're having that ability to have that extra money set aside, so they build up and then they can hit the ground running. You're not worrying about, where am I going to get these wages from, or do I need to take on another client? But then that causes problems, because then you've still got to do the work. So it's having that buffer. My decision process is quicker by having that buffer, because I'm not, where am I going to find the money? And that I find that stops a lot of clients hiring, because I don't have the money to be able to put on that staff member. So it's crazy. It's just a never-ending cycle of despair, really.
It's so true. And I think that even if we were to concentrate in, we could go and talk about so many different things right now that you sort of track in terms of KPIs and Profit First and advisory, but hiring is such a challenge for people, and knowing whether or not the investment in the person is actually showing that return, which it sounds like through what you're tracking answers that question quite easily.
Yeah, there's no ifs, buts or maybes. I just look at it and I go, okay, I need to hire. Let's start the process. But I have that buffer. Once I make that decision to hire, that buffer's starting. And hiring is not a quick thing. It's not.
It's not a quick thing, especially when you don't want it to be a quick thing necessarily, because you want to find the right person with the right skills to complement the remaining team that then, once they are fully working and on board, are amazing. And that does take time. And that's so fantastic. What are some of the other things that you track?
The social media, where my leads come from. So whether it's social media, word of mouth, what social media, whether it comes from Instagram, whether it comes from Facebook, whether it comes from a client, whether it comes from another bookkeeper, just so I know where I need to be concentrating my marketing time and money into. I track that. And I also track how many prospects I speak to, and if they've come on board, and if they're not, so my conversion rate as well.
And what does that tell you as a business owner? Like, what does that do for you?
It tells me whether I sucked in that interview with a prospect. That's the one thing. I'm able to reflect and look back and go, okay, what worked and what didn't work, and then I can change my strategy for the next one if it didn't work, or keep my strategy if it did work. But every client, every prospect's different, and they have different personalities, they have different needs. So it's changing me to meet the prospect.
Awesome.
Gives me that,
and I think
absolutely.
What we tend to do is spread ourselves too thin when it comes to talking to all of the things, all of the people, doing it a particular way, and that sort of stuff. So the tracking gives you better revenue, I think. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, of course it does. It gives you the ability to know who you want to work with. So I don't take every person that comes through the door. I don't. But if they meet my non-negotiables, then generally they'll come on board. Usually they don't come on board is because of money at the time. But then you can have that conversation around, well, shall we have a look at that and see where you're hemorrhaging money, if they are hemorrhaging money. Usually 99% of the time they're hemorrhaging money, and they have no time.
It's so true. And that they're the two common problems: not enough money, or getting rid of too much money, and not enough time to be able to recoup the gap. And so through your conversations, you're identifying that. That's fantastic. So you've mentioned that you love advisory.
Yes.
What sort of advisory do you do, and what do you love about it?
Oh, I love looking at people's profit and loss and balance sheet, and looking at finding the trends and what's working and what's not working, and having the conversation with them, because sometimes you don't have the full picture, and by having a conversation you can go, well, you could do XYZ, which will give you ABC results. So it's putting the puzzle together. Like, it's a jigsaw puzzle for me. It's getting all the pieces and then putting them together.
I love that analogy. It absolutely is. So basically, from what I understand you've said, you're gathering all of the pieces to create that puzzle, that picture, that full, outlook on what's actually happening, so that the changes that are made have a great impact and are sustainable. Would that be right?
Yes.
That's amazing.
It's so rewarding.
And so Profit First comes into this?
Absolutely. Love Profit First. Wouldn't be without it. It's been a game changer for my business. It's a game changer for other businesses.
Absolutely. And so for those that may be watching this, like, how can they what's the best way to get in contact with you and or have a conversation about what their puzzle might look like?
Give us a call. We have a website, precisionadvantage.com.au. There's a booking link there, or just pick up the phone. Happy to have a conversation. I probably give away too much information, but I'm more than happy to have a conversation.
What I could say about Felicity, because we've worked together now for quite some time, is that she knows her stuff. The difference that she's wanting to make in people's businesses and lives is huge. And whilst she is very generous with her knowledge and time, the results speak for themselves as well. So we'll be popping in the comments the link to your website so that people can get in contact. And yeah, just to wrap it up, what's one tip or piece of advice you'd give to someone?
Just start. Just do one little thing. Open, even if it's just to open one bank account and start putting money aside. Just one thing, and then you'll get that traction.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Felicity. And I'm so glad that the internet gods kept us connected. And we'll catch you in the next live. See you later. Bye.
Thank you.